A very good morning to you, and thank you very much for joining us here on the channel.
It's nice to be back. Good morning.
So yesterday we saw the visit by Xi Jinping, the state visit, and a number of commitments were made, including that the Chinese government has donated 170 million rand in emergency power equipment and made available an approximately 500 million grant as development assistance to alleviate South Africa's energy crisis. This is something that most South Africans will be particularly interested in, but is it a matter of money or a matter of management?
Well, I think the problem of our power supply has been with us, the load shedding as it is locally called, has been with us for 17 years. That's when load shedding started. So it cannot really be about money, because over 17 years we should have been able to find the money to solve the problem. To me, the Eskom problem, and it is an Eskom problem, it's a management problem. The management of Eskom, there's something very wrong about the way Eskom is managed. There's something actually very wrong about who owns Eskom. If you recall, Eskom was set up by the National Party regime, the old apartheid regime. Now, the apartheid regime had very comprehensive training programs for its own people, for the Afrikaans people. So they had apprenticeship programs, they had management programs, they had degree programs, and in many ways, even father and son and daughter worked for the same company. So they had a very tight management system. The new government that came in of the ANC actually had no system at all. It had no trained people. And then it imposed all sorts of philosophies about management, like affirmative action, black economic empowerment. And then it totally has been unable to manage what they inherited from the apartheid regime. That is really our problem with the power supply in South Africa. Of course, the Chinese mean well, and they are doing what they can do. They can't solve our management problems unless they are asked by South Africa.
Sure.
And I think the South African government is too embarrassed to ask the Chinese, can you please come and manage Eskom for us? So they are too embarrassed to do that. So they will accept components, they will accept equipment, they will accept money, but that's not Eskom's money. That's not Eskom's problem. Eskom's problems are management problems.
Are we not turning the tide? We've got an electricity minister, and every time the president speaks, is very proud to mention that we have not just a project manager, but somebody who eats, sleeps, breathes Eskom.
Yes, we have a gentleman who is called Minister of Electricity. Well, I have yet to see load shedding disappear from my home, from my office. It's still there. It still happens. The narrative has changed or is changing, but the practice has not changed. So, but it's not fair really to think that one person. Eskom is like a huge multinational. So a company the size of Eskom, I think Eskom is the largest company in Africa in terms of assets that it owns. So you can't put one person and expect that it will make a difference in the management of that company. We need a whole rethink about the electricity supply for South Africa. What worked for the apartheid regime does not necessarily work for a democratic system. And that is really what we have to, what the government has to understand. It looks like a wonderful inheritance. It's a wonderful inheritance on paper, these big state-owned companies. So the ANC thinks, we've inherited a great gift from the apartheid regime. Actually, it's a poison chalice. Because the systems of running these organizations were apartheid systems. In a democratic environment, you can't run them the way that the apartheid regime used to run them, which is why they have all collapsed. Interestingly, the one or two companies that were privatized are still running quite well, which shows that we should have looked at the privatization. I think the star achiever of the former state-owned companies is Sasol. Sasol has grown as a privately owned company. For example, it brought natural gas from Mozambique, which it didn't have before. Before, it depended on getting gas from coal. Today, Eskom is getting gas, it brought natural gas from Mozambique. So you can see the growth of what was formerly a state-owned industry when it got privatized is performing quite well. It's a big investor in the United States. It's a big investor in Qatar. Its technology is being used in countries like Qatar to liquefy natural gas into liquid fuels. So that's what we should have thought. We should have thought, okay, this is what we inherit. Now, how do we manage it according to our own principles? And if it requires us to sell it, we should have sold it.